I am Daniel Madison. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate you choosing to spend some time with me. Today's the last day of 2018, and in the last video I opened it up for you to ask me anything. Time is precious, especially today, so I'm going to get straight into it. There's so many questions. A lot of them were repeated, so I've selected a few that stood out to me and were interesting and that became repetitive. I'm going to try and answer as many as possible, and the ones that I don't answer in this form, I'm going to go back to the video afterwards and answer in person. You can also ask me questions in this very video in the comment section, and I'll try to answer every single one. Time is precious. Let's get straight into it. Philip Bada or Beta. It's a cool name. Hi Daniel, how do you bring out cards when hanging around people in a casual situation and not make it awkward or forced? Good question. I used to make a living doing gigs, nothing but gigs, and they were the kind of events where you had to approach people as the magician, and magicians do this is part of their job. You have to approach people and introduce yourself as a magician, and it's the most awkwardly forced thing, an uncomfortable thing, unnatural. It's so unnatural. I never once approached anybody and said, oh, hi guys, I'm Daniel, can I show you a magic? You know, it never worked like that. It never happened like that for me because it was just too awkward. It was just too uncomfortable and too unnatural. So the way that I used to get around that was I would set up a trick. Now, I never consider myself a magician, so even in those situations where I'd be hired as a magician, I would tell the person who booked me, don't tell anybody that I'm going to be there, and don't introduce me to anybody as a magician, because I want to be seen as a person who can do magic, a person who can do strange things. So I never use the word magic either. A good example, I used to, in a bar that I worked in, I used to leave coins near people or push a coin over to somebody and tap them on the shoulder and say, I think you left some money on the table. And now I've got their attention. If they would usually say it's not mine, then I'd wave my hand over and the coin would vanish. Raven. In other situations, I would stand at the bar and I'd be playing with a £5 note. I'd be playing with some money, and I'd just screw it up in the air and stand back and walk backwards further and further away from it, and it'd stay there floating in the air. ITR, right? This would get people's attention and get everybody to come to me rather than me going to them. So I think the best answer to that question is because you don't want to force an awkward situation, you're forcing people to come to you naturally. And then all of a sudden, they want your attention rather than you wanted their attention. So it's kind of turning the tables. This is from Ethan. Why don't you occasionally show us live performances, how you interact with your victims? It's a longer question, but that's one thing that will change in 2019 actually. I'm going to figure out a way to capture my performances and what I've always hated about that. And I've filmed so many performances over the year, and the same thing keeps happening to me and to the situation. Magic is a performance. Magic is an art form that you present to somebody and that you deliver to somebody. As soon as you bring a camera into that, it kind of interrupts the moment, and it creates this triangle out of the situation where it's no longer you and the person having an experience. There's another thing there, and it's another thing that's in the way. It almost creates a wall, and it dampens and lessens the experience and the reaction and everything about it, because the camera being on somebody changes everything. The best performances I've ever caught on film are just when people have filmed me on their phone, and I don't usually get that footage. As soon as it becomes a situation where, oh, can we film this? It's a very strange thing. And I've been around so many TV shows with people, and I've experienced year after year, show after show, the same thing. As soon as the cameras come on, it's different. When the cameras aren't there, the reactions and the connections that are made off film are incredible. And magicians constantly trying to figure out how we're going to catch this on film the way that we did it in real life. And it never really happens, because when a camera turns on, everybody's kind of a performer, even the spectators. They feel like they've got to play a role now that the camera's on it. It changes their mentality in a way. I've never been able to come to terms with that properly. But I'm going to try and find a way around that in 2019. There was a video. I was in where was I? I was in Santa Monica playing chess with these guys, and I started showing them magic, and it was filmed. And his reactions were golden. He had the best experience, and then the camera turned on, and he acted so dramatically different. I'll show you that video one day. Who are your favorite bands and artists? What music are you into? Michael Ward. I see the things that inspire me, bands, music, books, anything creative like that gives me that kind of creative gives me that escape. I see those things as investments, and I like to protect my investments. I never share things like that, even with my closest friends, even with people who are closest to me. Don't know what I listen to, don't know what I read. Even on my bookshelf, my books are turned backwards so that anybody who comes into the room can't see those books. I've shared a few of those books over the years. One of them specifically that I share and talk about a lot, that changed my life in the most dramatic and the most meaningful way. This was a gift from my sister years back. She gave me this book, 50th Law, 50 Cent and Robert Greene, anything by Robert Greene. She gave me this book, and I was like, what the hell am I going to read a book about 50 for? And I read it, and it changed my life. So you never know. But for the same reason, when it comes to music, I can't go a long time without listening to music. I can't last maybe an hour without having some music. I can't sleep without music. Constantly got my headphones in. There's constantly music playing, and I like to keep that to myself because it's a very personal experience for me. And a track, a band, an artist might mean something to me that also means something to you, that are completely worlds apart, and it can never be explained what that meaning is and what it does up here and in here. It can never really be translated. So I like to protect things like that. My creative inspirations come from places like that, from music, from books, films. I talk about films a lot, I don't mind that, but books, I feel like they need protecting for the lessons that I've taken from them, and the way that music inspires me. I kind of want to look after that, so I don't usually say I don't know if anybody else feels the same. Justin Meredith, if the changes that you underwent over 2018, which is the one that you're most proud of, changed by the end of next year. I tend to cling to my failures more than my successes. 2018, in terms of business, for me was an incredible success. Like the most successful year I've ever had in my life, 2018. But on a personal level, the personal failures here and here, I cling on to them because you learn more from them than you do from your success. Like for me, I know I'm going to succeed. That's my mentality. I know I'll succeed at whatever I do. That's just how I'm built. I don't know that I will, but thinking like that forces me to succeed. But it's the failures where you learn that teach you. And I know you hear this constantly from everyone, from everybody successful, in fact. Fail forward. Fail. Don't be afraid of failing. I look forward to failing. I don't try to fail, obviously. I look forward to failing because you learn so much from it. One of my biggest secrets in chess over the years, which I don't mind sharing now because I don't play chess anymore. One of my biggest secrets ever was to lose chess more than winning chess. It was never about winning for me, because in losing chess, in strategically losing at chess, you learn more about your opponent than you ever would by beating them. And not just at the game, but how they think in life, their mentality, their everything about them. Fail forward, fail. I'm looking forward to more failures so that I can learn and build on them. So don't be afraid of failing. You need to pick those failures up and inspect them and really study them and figure out why and what to do next. Captain Mustache, wow. What would you recommend for performers to make their act different from other people's acts. You know what? I think it's just a matter of being you. And that sounds easy, but it's not easy. Like, when you look at magicians, they're all just copies and copies and copies of each other. They all say the same things, they all dress the same, they all act the same. Even now, even the modern magicians all look the same. You know, they look modern, they all sound the same, they all say the same things, they all handle things in very peculiar ways. Look how magicians turn over playing cards and hold playing cards, and look how they hold a coin, and it's so weird. It's not natural at all. It doesn't look like a real person. The more reality you can invite into your deceptions, the more realistic your deceptions will be. Just be a person who can do something strange. You can do this weird thing that's magical, rather than, oh, hi guys, I'm Captain Mustache, I'm a magician. Can I show you some magics? Daniel Bosey, it's a cool name. How do you see yourself from the inside? It's a really deep question and interesting, and I like that question a lot because I relate to it so much. When I, about 10 years ago, this, what I can see in the mirror right now, this is what I looked like from the inside, but on the outside I was very different. I was a lot heavier, I was a lot unhealthier, and I looked different, less of the ink, less of me, you know. I sounded different a bit. I was more insecure, and yeah, I was so different, but I looked like this 10 years ago from the inside. So now I've managed to meet, for those two characters to meet each other, and now I look like, on the outside, what I look like, or I feel like I look like on the inside. Andrea Smith. Hi Andrea. For everybody watching, for everybody who hasn't seen or has seen the No Seer video, Andrea sung. She did the music beautifully, perfectly for that video. Her cover of Hurt. Go check her out. She's incredible. She's asked me, why do you wish to resurrect magic? I think it's a paradox, that constant dilemma, the constant battle between when I say magic is dead. So the full sentence, most people know it, magic is dead, is for the magician to convince his audience to believe otherwise. So you can't really present magic in any other way. For magic to be perceived as real, it has to appear as real magic, and in order for it to appear as real magic, we have to agree to the terms and conditions, which include the sentence magic is not real or magic is dead. It's a really weird situation where you can't resurrect magic because it never lived, but it's the constant battle to prove to people that it does exist, which is such a weird thing to try to do. But if we don't, as magicians, which I don't like, but as magicians, if we don't try to show people or try to make people question whether magic is real or whether magic is alive or dead, if we don't try, then there's no art in it. There's no point. I know I've not answered the question, and I don't think it's a question that can be answered, but that's the battle, to convince people that it's alive, and us from our side, we know that it's not. So we create this situation for ourselves that's difficult to exist in, where we have to pretend to exist. So then what are we doing? Are we pretending to also exist? Not just in it, but in entirety, We could talk about that for a long time. I'm trying to keep my answers short, but that one subject, it would be just me talking like this for a few hours, like questioning myself rather than answering a question. Why do you wish to resurrect magic? Magic is beautiful. Magic allows people to have an experience and to question whether what they've seen is real or not. It allows them to experience something and break them away from mundane reality or normality. We managed to break them free from it just for that little moment. So it's worth trying to resurrect. It's worth trying to prove the existence of magic for that one reason alone. Jeff Patton. You said on multiple occasions that Charlie is your only friend, but you've been clear that people, amongst others, are also your friends. My question is, where do these statements stand with you now that you're moving beyond the architect and Madison is into 2019? It's a weird one for me. It's strange because I've had people that I've seen as friends who have constantly proven to me that they're not my friends. I think they call them so-called friends. When I was a kid, I must have been about 10 years old. I was with my friend Dean. I went to his house, and all of a sudden, another friend of his turned up who I'd never seen before, I didn't know, and he was like, oh, Daniel, this is my best friend. And that broke my heart as a kid, because I thought I was his best friend. And then it started this whole idea and this whole concept of how devastating it is to, and how wrong it is to categorize your friends. The idea that people can hold certain friends in a higher regard than other friends. For me, the word friend, there's no levels, there's no tiers. You don't start at the bottom and work your way to the top. Sure, you become closer with people, and maybe you trust some friends more than others, but then that's another part. For me, friendship is it should be a straight line, and everybody exists on the same thing. And even in that sense, when I've done that, and when I put my friends on that same level, and what is a friend? I try to be a good person and help everybody, and I've helped so many people, and I will continue to help as many people as I can for as long as I live. And then the people that I've helped in incredible ways, who have then just left and then not returned that, it's a difficult lesson to learn, but obviously you can't help somebody and then act like that's some kind of transaction where you've helped them, now they owe you one. You can't do that. That's not how it works. But when it happens to you constantly, one after the other, and I don't want to talk negatively, and there's no bitterness, but that's messed my idea of friends up quite a lot. And maybe it's because I'm in a unique position, or have a different way of thinking about these things. I'm sure that's the reason. In fact, I find it best to just see people as people, and instead of looking for friendships, you count on connections, and those connections might happen for 2 minutes, they might happen for 2 years, and then they might break off, and you don't have that connection again, and then you go back to that same connection and it still existed with the same brightness. I don't know if you know people like that. I know so many people like that where I won't see them for years. There'll be no messages, emails, phone calls for years, and then you see them again and it's like no time has passed. That's more than a friend. That's why I look for those connections, is what I look for rather than friendship. So when I say Charlie's my only friend, really Charlie's up here and he's in here. So he can't break the boundaries of which is a strange thing to say out loud, because I know that I'm creating those boundaries of what a friendship is. And it sounds like I've got trust issues. And coming from my line of work, obviously we have trust issues. John Spade, Madison, how do I get where you are? I have been stuck in the same place in my art and my business for 3 years. It's driven me into depression the way that I am stuck. Each case is going to be different. Each person's going to be different. Everybody's got a different set of problems. And I liked something I heard recently. If you don't have any problems, then you need to start worrying, because the only people who don't have problems are buried underground in graveyards. You need problems in life. If you didn't have problems, then there'd be no point. You'd have no purpose. Or there'd be no point to having a purpose. Or there'd be no meaning. There's an old saying, an old adage that rings true and true constantly. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. Things change for me personally when I change things. So if I do what I did in 2018, I'll get the same results that I got this year. So 2019, you can put money on it. You can best believe I'm going to do things different. Everything's going to be different. Look over my history from the whole time I've spent in this career, in this practice. Every single time I do things different. I do it my way and nobody else's way. If you want to watch, if you want to pay attention, thank you and welcome to the Madison Show. So John Spade, you got to do things your way. Do it your way. And if what you're doing isn't working, then it means you're doing something wrong. This is the kind of conversation I need to have directly with you to figure out, what steps you're taking and which direction you're already going in, to figure out why it's not taking you anywhere. You should, if you think enough and if you're honest enough with yourself, you should be able to answer those kind of questions yourself. But that's just something to think about for now. Maybe we can connect and have that conversation. Luke Burdett. Daniel, have you read any Nietzsche? The idea of being solitary sounds a lot like him. Do you read any philosophers or writers? I do. I read so much of that. And Nietzsche said, all great things must first wear terrifying and monstrous masks in order to inscribe themselves on the hearts of humanity. It's one of my favorite lines. I'm sure I misquoted it, but it's one of my favorite lines of all time. And definitely the idea of solitude and isolation comes from. There's a line that I made from that in the book that I wrote a few years back called Monster. It is in this vein. It's bled straight from the same vein as Nietzsche. The idea that you have to create a monster out of yourself to get what you want, to make things happen in the way, to make the world work for you rather than against you. You have to become this beast that controls the whole world, and you have to become a monster. Whilst there's this saying, or there's this idea, to be an artist and to survive as an artist, you have to have alligator skin and the heart of a butterfly. Alexander Mengozi. When Daniel Madison turns off his camera, when he takes off his mask, who he really is? What's the difference between you and the character? I ask to the thinker, not the speaker. I like that last line. And to be honest, there is no difference other than, I guess this is difficult for me. I find this difficult to address a camera, to talk honestly and openly to a camera, and it's very therapeutic to me. It's not like I turn the camera off and keep talking, so I guess that's a big difference. But I like that you asked the thinker, because the thinker is very different to the speaker usually. But in my case, I've fought very hard to make a marriage between the two so that they become the same thing, and I think I'm very close to fully achieving that. Great question. JJ, we'd like to talk about your family, like sister or grandfather. If yes, please do so. My sister, Victoria, I've started putting her publications on my website. She's an incredible writer, an incredible thinker. She's a philosopher, psychologist, she's all kinds of things, but to me she's an incredible writer. And she writes a lot about deception and the art of magic, the philosophy of magic. And I've asked her to write a bunch of things for my website. So head over there and you'll get to meet my sister. My granddad, I talk about my granddad a lot. He was my biggest influence. He's responsible for probably 95% of my tattoos. Maybe I'll save talking about him for another video. Zaid Taha. Did I say that right? How you cope with stress, anxiety, and doubts in your life. I don't necessarily think that those things exist until we create them, until we categorize them. So I try to avoid doing that. Like, everybody has stress, anxiety, and doubts, but a lot of people, especially as the world develops, people take words like anxiety and they cling onto it. They want to call it something and name it something and own it and try and treat it. And I see it more of as a distraction than anything else. When somebody talks to me, I suffer from severe anxiety, welcome to the fucking club. Every person on this planet suffers from anxiety, stress, and doubts. I mean, self-doubt. JB once said something that stuck to me, which I forget now, but basically doubt is the enemy of creativity. If you doubt yourself, you're doing that to yourself. Doubt comes from in here. You create doubt. Nobody else does. But stress and anxiety, I guess I cope and deal with things like that by not, and this isn't avoidance, but I don't categorize them, I don't class them as separate things. I consider the whole experience one thing. All the negative things, all the positive things, it all comes into one thing that's here, almost the 7 chakras, almost the 9 chakras, even if we want to get into it, but they're all one thing, one and the same thing, and you have to find a balance. So without those bad things, there aren't going to be the good things. It's just about finding ways to manage how you think about them rather than how you deal with them. I certainly would advise anybody to medicate against things like that, because that then really solidifies and makes a thing out of something that should, at the end of the day, something that's made up. Anxiety and stress, it's made up. Everybody experiences it. You're not unique. You are not unique if you experience stress or anxiety. And don't think that you are. Don't think that you're special. Don't try and hold on to it like it's a part of your identity, which is wrong. I'll stop talking right now. Lal Murari. Lal Murari. Name a magician who fooled you with cards previously. The word fooled, it doesn't sit well with me. I remember when I first heard about foolers, Penn and Teller foolers, the word fool was enough to put me off. When you make fooling somebody part of your motivation in magic, then it stops it from becoming magic. It becomes something else. It becomes a trick. It doesn't become magical. We don't do it to fool people. It's not about fooling people. But maybe you didn't mean that with a question. So, name a magician who fooled you with cards previously. I always try my best to be to allow myself to experience magic and to be fooled. Like the need to be fooled. The world invites deception. Wonderful deceiving. We want to be deceived and we want to be fooled. And one of the tragic things about becoming a magician and learning magic is it's the whole Santa Claus theory. You have to bite that bullet and understand that when you know how it works, you're not going to be fooled anymore. You're not going to be tricked anymore, and you're not going to experience that magic anymore. And it's really tragic. So I try to be fooled as much as possible. I try to allow myself to experience magic as much as possible. And the last few times I can remember that happening on a serious level. One of them was Wayne Houch in 2007. He showed me, is it Sinful? Or I can't remember what he called it. Basically took a coin, threw it inside a can of Coca-Cola, and blew my mind. And that was the first time I ever saw it. And seeing his performance of it and his execution just really knocked me out. Like, it was so beautiful. Another time was Blaine. We were in Blackpool 2009, and we were in a hotel room, and the whole idea was people would come to the hotel room and show us tricks. They'd have 5 minutes, and they were auditioning their tricks to be on Blaine's, to be a part of Blaine's repertoire, to be a part of his special. And we were kind of decided together, and I saw some great things that day. But one of the best parts, to the end, we invited some people to stay. David took us out to the car park. He had Michael Amar pick a playing card and sign his name on it, shoved it back into the deck, and he held the deck in his hand like this. This is Blaine. Walks downstairs, and we all follow him, and he's carrying the deck like this very carefully, so that we can see that he's not doing anything with it. And he pushed the fire exit open, went into the middle of the car park, and told us to wait at the door. And just stood there, just like this, for at least a minute. And then all of a sudden, the cards, one by one, started to flutter into the sky. Every single playing card, and it was a cloud of cards disappearing into the night. It was the most beautiful thing ever. And then one of them fell back down, and he reached out and grabbed it and turned it around, and sure enough, it was the card that Michael Amar picked and signed. That's probably the most beautiful experience in magic that I've ever been there and experienced and had the privilege to see. And it's one of those things, one of those moments that's very rare in Magic and in practice of deception with playing cards, where who cares how it worked? We don't want to know how that worked. It shouldn't have a method because it was beautiful, and I've stopped myself from thinking about methods because of that very reason. I enjoy the awe, AWE. I enjoy the amazement, the memory of it. If I figure it out, then it kind of ruins it. So it's good. It's a good practice for people like us to try and experience that, because it becomes rare the more advanced you get in our craft. Zionist, will you be releasing any red playing cards in the future similar to the Scarlet Rounders? Yes, I will. Melly McKinnon, what do you see as your biggest accomplishment? To be honest, I don't think I've achieved my biggest accomplishment yet, and I don't think I ever will. It's mainly because I don't set myself the highest goals, or at least they don't seem to be in my mind. I know if I set myself a goal, I'm going to achieve it. And I guess one of the tricks to that is almost like a self-deception, because I'm not setting myself unrealistic goals. If you set yourself on unrealistic goals, you've got to accept that you're also setting yourself up for a lot of pain if that doesn't come true. Which sounds like a really negative bit of advice, because I should be telling you that you can achieve anything, and you know, don't let your dreams be dreams. But the way that I deal with life, if I wake up tomorrow morning, that's another achievement. That's another accomplishment. Every breath counts, you know. So if I take another breath, to me that's an accomplishment. I'm truly grateful to just have this, you know, just have anything, just to be here for now in this moment. And when it comes to accomplishments, biggest accomplishments, I think just it's having this mentality. Maybe that's the biggest accomplishment in my life, just having that way of thinking. William Morgan, I want to improve and I want to inspire as you do. The best way I can think to do that is to learn from you in person. So I guess my question is, would you be willing to arrange a one-on-one meeting? I think the best way to do that at the minute is if you're in the Slide Club, which the Slide Club's closed now. So everybody in the Slide Club, huge news for everybody who made it in there with me. I think maybe later on in the year things like this will probably take place. The chance of one-on-one training, teaching Magic. I began as a teacher teaching one person at a time, and then it became small classes, and then it became on film. And being on film makes so much more sense, because the one you film the lesson once and it can be viewed thousands, millions of times. But the one problem that I faced with that it was difficult to adapt to and is still hard to kind of live with is it's just me and a camera, and then it's just me digitally, and there's no personal interaction. So I love teaching, whether it's one person, whether it's a class. I love teaching there with people rather than on film. It's just kind of difficult to make happen. I'll figure it out. I will figure it out. Tayata Samrat, how often do you perform Magic for actual people? Every day. Some days I'll miss a day. Some days, you know, the past week I've missed quite a few days, but I get agitated. It kind of upsets me if I don't force myself into a position where I can show somebody something, or I can practice something for somebody. So I'll always put myself in a position to do that, always. And linking back to the idea of it being on film, there's so many opportunities to film myself doing it, but the camera interrupts. A huge part of me spending all my time, or half of my time at least, at Electric Picture House Tattoo Studio with my friend Rob, is that because in and out all day long, people coming in and out, and it's a great place for me to just be. It's a great place to work, to think, to write, and to be for when new people come in. And if I need to practice something, or I feel like I need to improve a move or an idea, there's people in and out all day. So I try to do at least one trick a day for one person, whether it's a new person or the same person who's seen 100 tricks. It doesn't matter. It's important to practice on real people. It's the only way to practice this on real people. JJ, what happened with Edit? It was one of your effects. Was it ever available, or will it ever be available? Edit was a video I made. It was a trick that I made for Blaine. You spread a deck of cards on the table. It's a blue deck. Without touching it, you wave your hand over the top and it changes color. I called it Edit because I just wanted to give the method up, because it never got used. We came up with real methods, real physical methods, and there were some really easy ones. But yeah, it never got used. It's one of my favorite videos, actually. I even filmed myself calling David, and that made it into the video. But I'm sure I blurred or blocked his name out, so he didn't know I was talking to him. Mason Tralongo. No double meaning, no doubt. Very simple. Are you happy? I strive to be happy. I fight to be happy. I'm not a naturally happy person, I don't think. And that's a very difficult thing for anybody to come to terms with or admit. I'm very solemn. But I find comedy everywhere I can. You know, I find humor and comedy and laughs everywhere I can, constantly. And you might not think it, but even this, to me, this is comical. So this kind of puts a smile on my face. And you know, my dad said to me on my birthday, everybody needs somebody in their lives who makes them smile. Smiles don't necessarily mean happiness, but the sentiment is to make somebody happy and make somebody smile. And in my kind of whatever causes it, whenever I don't feel naturally happy, it's in helping other people that kind of makes me happy. So I try to do that as much as possible. I practice gratitude and I practice giving, and those things bring me happiness. I don't think it might have been Nietzsche again who said man's biggest problem is caused by the fact that he can't sit on his own, completely alone, in a room for a long period of time. Magic Marcus, what are your thoughts on cardistry? I love cardistry. Absolutely love it. I wanted it to be a huge part of my journey and my career, and it was back in the beginning. I remember when I first got into cardistry, there was very few people doing it. There was a handful of people doing it. There was Dan and Dave, Boneho, myself. I could probably count them on a hand. There was very few, and we were all kind of collectively cheater. And after making Dangerous with Theory 11, the cardistry DVD, I made a few independent ones on my website, and I always practiced the same kind of flourishing, but I never developed and never learned in a different direction or other people's or other styles, simply because in doing that, it made me too fancy and too clinical and too pretty with the way I handle playing cards. And I lean into constantly the soap theory, the dirty bastard theory, and cardistry kind of takes me away from that. So it's a little bit tragic, because I really want to be good at cardistry, but I know it'll have a negative effect on my sleight of hand, on the way that I like to do sleight of hand. So I absolutely adore cardistry. I love to watch it. And I love to do it, but I do hold back because of that reason, because of the dirty. Alexander Wolf, do you perform comedy magic, or is it against your performance style? Again, comedy in life and making and bringing happiness and fun into life using comedy, it's only natural that it happens with cards, like, and with performances. You can't do, or at least I can't do, performances that are 100% straight through serious artistic performances. Every performance is artistic, but it doesn't mean they have to be deadly serious without any humor, without any moments of humor or comedy. I always look for the right comedy and the right time and the right moment to deliver a bit of comedy, and comedy is an incredible distraction and misdirection or direction of attention with sleight of hand. Like, there's so many puns and funny moments that you can sneak in that get a really good laugh and like calm people down and help people drop their barriers without becoming a clown, without becoming a comedian. So certainly nowhere near the level of a comedian, but definitely use comedy and utilize it and make jokes that are divisively helpful for sleight of hand techniques. So a lot of my things I do have comedy written into them for the sole purpose of distracting somebody. Jordan Whitehead, yo Jordan, the old you would say you're not a magician. It's unclear now. Do you consider yourself a magician or not? No, I don't. I don't consider myself a magician, but you know, this art is magic. It's the art of magic. I just don't consider myself to be the magician. I don't do what a magician does. I don't fit into that category. I don't act like one. I don't look like one. I don't perform like one. I don't think like one. I don't handle things like magicians do. And I don't like magicians the way that they do magic. I consider myself a person. I'm a person. I am Daniel Madison, and I can do these things with a deck of playing cards. And I never use those words, magic or magician. I let the participants, audience, spectator, I let them decide what it is. I like to confront them with the idea that their reality and normality can be altered with the simplest of things, deck of playing cards and a few words and a few thoughts, and then it's up to them how they guide that. I want to give an experience. Yes, it is in the world of magic because I'm doing tricks, deceptive tricks, but I don't perform the way the magicians do. I try to. It's almost like an anti-magician. I try not to be a magician. I try to be a human because then it makes the magic more realistic. When I first saw Darren Brown, the same thing I saw with Uri Geller, I was amazed that other people were thinking like me, because I looked at Darren Brown and not one person looked at him and said, "Oh, that's that magician guy." Everybody said the mind reader, the guy who can do psychological tricks. Really, he was a magician, but he was presenting his magic as if it wasn't magic. Uri Geller did the same thing. So that's what I tried to do. I tried to present it as if it's not magic. So I'm not a magician. Stefan Bistricianu. If it wasn't for that Steve Forte video, what would you be doing today? Still in the magic industry or something totally different? I think I would have probably found my way here. I like to think so. But if it wasn't for this, my life was leading into a world of crime and using my way of thinking and my skills for the worst things. But I ended up in this position, in where I am right now. So I like to think that something else would have come along instead of Steve that would have helped me get where I am right now. Guy Bermudez, Guy, mad respect for you. Change, question mark. Yeah, change. I never talk about change. Like I get asked about change so much, but I never talk about it. It's just good to see what people think when they watch the video, and then just no comment. Sorry, Guy. Woof, David Woof, my man. What is your opinion of the performance and techniques of Richard Turner and Leonard Green? Richard is very clean in his performance, and Leonard Green really implements the dirty theory, but in a controlled way rather than a way to show inexperience with playing cards. I have huge respect for most people who handle playing cards. Those two people are like, gods of card work. Richard Turner, legally blind, incredible skills with sleight of hand, incredible. Leonard Green, again, Leonard Green was actually a huge inspiration for me early on when I discovered that it had all been done already. He was one of the first people I saw. It was actually Dynamo's house. I met Dynamo before he was Dynamo, and we became friends years ago, back when he was Steve. And I went to his lecture. That's where I met him, and we became friends ever since. And I went to his house and he showed me all his collection of magic videos. He had hundreds. And the first one he showed me was Greg Wilson, card stunts. And then he showed me some Leonard Green. And Leonard Green blew me away. The blindfold routine, the FISM routine, blew me away. And what I loved about seeing him was the dirty idea that I could see that that was his act. This guy knew what he was doing with playing cards, but he was covering it up with making it messy. And you rarely see that in Magic. And I think it's because magicians are afraid that other magicians are going to judge them as not being able to handle cards. And that's a shame. And I've experienced that throughout my entire career. My reputation seems to be so much bigger than my skill. And then, I've met so many people, so many big card guys who are like, yeah, it's all talk with you, it's just reputation. And then I sit down and live and show them what I can do, and then they take it back. And my philosophy with that is, so out of a fear of the way that magicians are going to be judged, this impractical and impossible level of perfection in terms of practice is developed from the most negative place, where magicians and card handlers believe that the way they handle cards has to be pristine and clean and perfect. Not a playing card can be a fraction of a millimeter out of place. The way your hands move, the position of your fingers, perfection. So when you say Richard Turner against Leonard Green, Richard Turner is kind of the opposite. I get what you're saying. Richard is very pristine and very clean, and I think for me, I see that as part of his act, and that's not disrespectful. He has an act. That is his act. He uses the fact that he's blind as his performance. That's if I say Richard Turner in a word association game with any magician, the first word they're going to say blind. His film, every documentary about him is about the fact that he's blind and handles playing cards. Nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that's a negative thing. I am saying it's an act. Now, the way that he handles playing cards, how cleanly, how pristinely, how smoothly, it works because of that. So if he handled them dirty and messy, you would think, well, obviously he handles them like that because he's blind, he can't see what the F square word he's doing. So it's more impressive for him because he can't see. So when I used to practice, I used to do this thing, I do blindfolded routines. In fact, how strange, on the back of seeing Leonard Green do the blindfold thing, I started putting it into my own practices. And I learned quickly then that it's more impressive for the audience if I can handle a card pristinely and cleanly, not messy. It's more impressive then. Whereas when you can see and I handle the cards pristinely and cleanly and so carefully and gracefully that it kind of tells everybody that you're an expert with those playing cards, that they don't care that you can find 4 aces in the deck. They're not shocked really, because you can obviously do that. That's your living. If you can handle playing cards that cleanly, the way that Spade, that guy, Spade Magic, even Steve Forte, obviously, but look at Spade's videos. To me, I find them hard to watch because there's no way in this universe, in this lifetime, that Spade will ever sit down at a real card game and cheat someone. There's no way in the world. It's too clean. It's not going to get away with it. It's way too perfect. Now, that is a negative, and that is a dig against Spade. But watch Spade and appreciate it for the way he handles. If you want to watch graceful card handling, watch Spade. You'll find it beautiful to watch. But technically, from the point of view of what sleight of hand is intended for and designed for, it's difficult to accept. It's difficult to watch and appreciate. This impossible competition's created between the magicians, and the way the magic and card handlers think that if you can't handle playing cards this well, or if you can't shuffle this perfectly, then you're no good. It reminds me of Jason England made me think about this actually, with how clean his second deal was. He barely pushes the top card over, and it's a strike second deal, and he barely you can't see it. Like the brief is invisible. That's a huge problem for me. It's a huge problem. He's practiced it to perfection, and to a perfection where it just looks like it is what it is. Like, it doesn't look like a normal deal anymore. Not to knock Jason, I love Jason. Thanks for that question, Wolf. Chris Wibble. Yo, Chris, I would love a DM spoken word album. Man, it's on the way. It is on the way. So something like that. You can see a little bit of something on my website right now. Asher Book, Are You Religious? I am religious. I'm not into religion in a sense of belief. I don't have like faith in any specific nomination of religion, but I live my life very religiously, and I think very, I guess mythical is a good word, a better word than religious. I do like the word religious. When I was a kid, I grew up in quite a strict Catholic house. My mother was very religious, and her family was, and my dad not so much. But as a result of that, I went to church. I went to sermons and ceremonies maybe 3 times a week. And as soon as I was old enough, I was going to say I was forced. I became an altar server. So 2 times a week in a weekend, instead of playing out with my friends and playing football and doing things like that, I had to go to church, put on a red gown and a white vest over the top, and carry this big cross, what's the word for it? A big stick with a cross on top. And I had to lead the priest out of his chambers as the choir sung, and lead him up to the altar, and be a huge part of the ceremony, do all the things and parts. And I was very young, and that continued after bad things happened in the family. That just kind of continued. I even went on there on my own to do that. And it wasn't until I was 16 years old that I kind of questioned against it, because to kind of break away from that world, I was doing bad things to try and counterbalance, to try and find a balance. It wasn't until I was 16 that I realized how mad it was, how crazy it was what I was doing. On one hand, I was seemingly a saint, working directly for a priest, and on the other hand, I was delivering cars too. And yeah, in this world of like horrible world, and these two just didn't work. So, are you religious? There's a very big answer to a small question. Casaden. When is the right time to take a step back and ask yourself, what the hell are you doing with your life? Every day, every single day. Hopefully you will never find the right thing to do. You'll never be satisfied. It's a good thing to think and to practice. Don't ever try to be satisfied. Toma Shen, I think I said that right. Why your videos are only black and white? It's kind of annoying. You're kind of annoying. It's so disrespectful. Tell you what, just for you, it just doesn't look the same in color, especially the green screen throw over there, and the pink deck looks pretty dope though. Black and white, I've answered this question before, I think, a few times. It began by I wanted to be different. I just wanted to do everything different. I wanted to do every single thing in a way that nobody else was. And at the time I was on Cheetah's Cheetah, the old website where I began. My first ever video was called 18. That's what this symbol is for. XVIII. And it was black and white, and I made it black and white because nobody else had black and white videos. And then it became a trend. The next video was black and white, and even after 2 videos, people associate black and white with me. But it also makes editing so much easier, playing with color correction and light. Like when I go back to color now, it takes me so long to get it right, whereas black and white's fairly easy. It became a signature that I just loved. I like the idea of simplifying your filters. I need to do that in life anyway, and black and white's a really good way to simplify everything and make everything simple. You're not distracted when it's black and white by anything else. You're focusing on the main point of interest. Right now the visuals are all grayscale, blacks, whites, so you've got no choice but to focus on put it this way, your mind is colors are removed from the options, so you've no options to look at colors. So your focus is on what's moving, which is me, and my voice rather than colors. Marty the Magician, Marty Gilbert. Yo, will you ever write a book about your life? Probably not, but this guy did. It's not about my life, this book. This is Magic is Dead by Ian Frisch, my friend Ian Frisch. Chris Ramsey introduced me to Ian years ago. Ian was desperate to meet me, and I didn't know why. And then when he met me, I figured out he wanted to write about the practice of magic and like underground magic, and he ended up writing this book about me. Obviously it's about other people too, but I spent so much time with Ian that if there was ever a book about me, this is it. So look forward to this book. It's coming out soon. Look forward to it. You can get it. You can actually pick the book up. You can actually pick that book up right now. I'll leave a link in this video description. And I'm going to end it there. And any questions I didn't manage to answer in this video, I'm going to do my best to answer everybody in the comments of the last video. If I missed your questions, or if you have new questions from this video, ask them in the comment section of this video, and I'll spend as much time with you as I can in the comments section. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for staying with me. Thanks for sticking it out. It's been a hell of a year, and I'm really looking forward to 2019. And I truly am grateful for anybody watching, and anybody still here, and anybody going through this, and the connections, you know, going through this with me. We are Madison. I truly am grateful. I can't. It's hard to express in the way that I really mean it. So it's the last time you're going to see me this year. Thank you so much. I am Daniel Madison. I'll see you in 2019.